Hi guys, and welcome back to Gabbin with Jessa. Today, I am super excited. I am talking about WandaVision, Episode 8, with spoilers, just going through what the episode was, how it was, and yeah, we're getting close to the end. I'm excited. This episode made me a little confused, but I think I figured it out after sitting back on it, watching it, and just, maybe watching other people's videos as well, just trying to figure out my thoughts on what I think is going to happen. Actually, no, I'm sorry. We don't start off in the basement. We actually start off in 1693 in Salem, Massachusetts, because that is the time of the witch trials. It was very famous witch trials going on in Salem, and we see Agatha being dragged and put on a stake. We think at first it's because she is going to be tried to be a witch, but she's actually being tried as a bad witch by other witches of her coven. They begin to question her, saying that she's using dark magic. The main person questioning her is her mother, who is, I guess, the leader of the coven. And then they start to drain her powers because she's using dark magic, and Agatha's trying to be like, no, like, I'm good, I promise, like, I can be good now, it's okay. And they're just not having it, so they go, and they use, like, this blue magic to, like, suck her powers, but then she shoots, like, her purple magic back out, and then they just kind of leave them a shell of themselves, so everyone's, like, dead, because it's just their bodies. She sucked out their life forces, including her own mother's. And then we see we see Agatha take her mother's brooch from her, and then we are transported back to present day to Agatha and Wanda in the basement. Here is when Agatha is questioning Wanda. She's like, okay, who are you? How are you doing all this? Like, I used Pietro to try to get it out of you because, like, those are my eyes and ears listening. I just want to know how you're doing this, because it seems like that you're just doing this without having to say any spells. Agatha goes through, like, different spells, but she says the Latin for them. She has to, actually put an effort to do, like, a simple spell, whereas it seems like Wanda is just simply doing everything without saying anything, without, like, anything, it seems like. So Agatha wants to get to the bottom of this. She's like, I sensed this magic, and that's what drew me here. That's why I wanted to come here, because I just wanted to figure out what the heck you were doing. So she takes a piece of Wanda's hair, does some magic to it, flings it to the side, and then creates, like, a door. And it's basically a trip of all of Wanda's traumas. So we go through the door, and we are transported to Sokovia, when Wanda is a young child, probably under the age of 10-ish would be my guess, maybe in between like 10 and 12, around that age bracket. It is Wanda, Pietro, and both their parents are in Sokovia. You can kind of see that a war is going on, like, outside of their apartment, but they're trying not to recognize it or anything like that. The dad brings home some probably pirated copies of various sitcoms. We see, like, Bewitched in there, The Brady Bunch, I Love Lucy. So now we know where Wanda got her love of sitcoms. It was kind of like a family movie night where they each got a turn to pick whatever show and whichever episode they wanted to watch. And on that night, it was Wanda's turn, so she picked an episode from the Dick Van Dyke Show, and Pietro made a comment being like, man, you always pick that episode. Like, why do you like it so much? And it was, I can't remember, it was like a walnut episode where I think Dick Van Dyke has like a weird dream or a nightmare or something like that, and there's like walnuts in it, and Mary Tyler Moore like slides down and on a bunch of like walnuts from like the closet. It's something like that. So as they're watching the show, I even know that this is coming because just of the events of Age of Ultron, and I knew it wasn't going to be good, but then all of a sudden their house gets exploded because one of these Stark missiles came in, and this explosion ended up killing both their parents, but not Pietro and Wanda. We then see another Stark missile land into their apartment, and, it's blinking, it's probably going to explode soon, but Wanda kind of, like, reaches her hand out, like young Wanda does, and stops it. And so it took them 2 days before anyone was able to find them in the rubble that was their house. And Agatha says this is because Wanda used a probability hex. And Wanda's like, no, like, it wasn't like that. But it's hard to tell because it seems like that Wanda did have some kind of powers when she was a young child. Which brings us to our next door that we go through, which is the Strucker experiments. These are the experiments that were used by Hydra when Hydra came in contact and owned the Mind Stone and like that scepter thingy. It's noted that no one has survived from the Strucker experiments before, and the next person up for these experiments is Wanda. She said that she volunteered for this because she thought that they were going to change the world, even though now we know what Hydra is and what they have done. So she goes, they like bring the Mind Stone over to her, it cracks out of the little scepter thing, so we see the bright color of the Mind Stone, and through this, Wanda kind of like touches it, she comes in contact with it, and then we see this bright yellow screen. We see like a vision of like a person come down, which is probably the vision of the Scarlet Witch coming down, kind of. Like, it was like through her eyes, and through this, she is one of the only survivors. She kind of like faints, but the people running the Strucker experiments actually don't know what went on because there was like a glitch in the video feed. So like when she came in contact with it, and then it cut right there, and then it was just her passed out on the floor. So this is where it's been a little confusing, because from Age of Ultron we kind of learned that at first that Wanda got her powers through the Mind Stone, but now it kind of seems like because of this, it wasn't necessarily through the Mind Stone, because everyone else who did it passed away, died from it. But now it kind of seems like her, and probably Pietro as well, have always had the X gene in them, so this is probably their relation to like the X-Men. Maybe this is why we brought Pietro in. There's still questions on whether or not Evan Peters was just brought in because he's actually Fox X-Men Quicksilver, or if it was just a fun casting. I hope it's not because it was a fun casting, because that would just be so mean and just throw everything out the window. But probably by the end of next episode, we're going to figure out why she's going to be in Doctor Strange. Maybe Doctor Strange makes a cameo in this, kind of like how he made a cameo in Thor Ragnarok. So maybe that'll answer some questions. Maybe that's a surprise cameo that Paul Bettany keeps talking about. So after we go through the Strucker experiments, we are brought to the Avengers compound right after the event of Avengers Age of Ultron. Wanda is just sitting on her bed. She's watching Malcolm in the Middle. And of course, she's still very sad. She's still grieving over the loss of Pietro, because this is when Aaron Taylor Johnson Pietro got shot by Ultron. So she's just still kind of like sad. And this is, I really like this scene because you can definitely tell that this is where Wanda and Vision's relationship started off, or started to take off. Like, you could tell that they're starting to fall in love. So they just had really nice conversations about grieving and everything like that, and what is real and what is not. And they just had such a connection, and you can tell that right away. And I wouldn't be surprised if they like shot this during Captain America Civil War, because that was kind of like the vibe it was getting from. I think that Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany have both done amazing jobs during this whole entire show, just kind of recreating famous sitcom tropes and just delivering it, and it being so great. I hope that they get Emmy nominations. Emmys are for TV, right? Yes. But this scene was just so sweet and just so heartbreaking and just so emotional, and it really solidified that these two are meant to be together. They're not just two kind of like random characters that you want to get together because, you know, people love couples and romance and things like that. This is where you see that they really do truly belong together, in my opinion. We are then flash forward to the most present day. So in a few episodes before, we saw video footage from Hayward of Wanda breaking into the compound, the sword compound, and stealing Vision's body. Well, now we learn that that was all fake. So Wanda does go to the sword compound. She does kind of use her magic to open the doors, but it was more of like, don't worry, like, I'll get the door. No need to worry about it, because they're letting her in. So she's talking with Hayward, and she's just like, look, I know you got Vision here. Can I just get him back? I just want to bury him, you know, have a funeral for him, because I wasn't able to get the body. That's all I want. That's all I want. And Hayward's like, no, like, that's $3 billion of vibranium. You're not just going to put that in the ground. And Wanda's like, please, like, that's just all I need. And Hayward just keeps poking the bear. You can tell that this is exactly what he wants to do. He wants to tick Wanda off so that way she can use her magic to do whatever he wants to do, whether it's to get her in trouble, whether it is why we find out later on in the post-credit scene. And you can tell that he's just poking the bear and that he is the real villain in this. maybe Agatha too, but definitely him. We can't just say that he is, I don't know, a government man who's just in the wrong. No, he was trying so hard to get her to do something, and it is so obvious that he is the villain in this. He wants the vibranium, he wants Vision, and we just see like separated parts of Vision, like an arm over here, another arm over here, a leg there, and his head separated. So she kind of like goes down in a way to say goodbye, and she feels his head. The one thing that they could always talk about is that, oh, I can feel you, like I can feel you. And it's so sad because she like goes, touches his head, and she's like, I can't feel you anymore. And I think that's when she realizes that like he is gone, and she just leaves. She leaves peacefully, doesn't steal the body like Hayward said that she did, and that's it. That's the end of it. So then Wanda drives to Westview, New Jersey, and it is this rundown town, probably because Vision, like the scene that we just went through at the sword facility, is literally like right after the blip. So we saw on like video screens that people were being brought back together, families reunited, and things like that. So then we see all the different characters throughout the sitcom that we've seen, like Donna Jo Rupp, she makes another appearance, and it's a very rundown town, and I think it's because probably something happened to that poor town during the blip. Maybe they lost a lot of people, so they were not able to keep up with businesses, and now that people are coming back, maybe that's still not enough. And then we see that there's this plot of land that Vision and Wanda have a deed to. There's a little heart that says, like, I don't even remember, but it was like to start our new home or something like that. And it was just so sad, and Wanda just lets out all her grief, and through her magic, she creates not just a new Vision, but the whole hex as well. So it is because of her grieving that she created this, and I don't think it was knowingly. I think it was just something that happened because of what we find out about her later on. I think that she wouldn't have done this consciously. I think this was a result of grief plus chaos magic, which is what we find out that she has. And so I don't think that this was something intentional from Wanda. I think that this was a result of the grief plus chaos magic just kind of overtaking her and overpowering her. So then there's an exchange between Wanda and Agatha again, and then we realize, oh wait, like Wanda still really wants her kids. And so we hear them screaming like, Mom, help me, or whatever. And so we go outside to Modern Family Westview version, and we see Timmy and Billy, and they're getting held like by their necks by like Agatha's like purple magic thing. It's like strings. And this is the big reveal that Wanda has chaos magic, that she is the Scarlet Witch, and then that's where it cuts off. I think it was supposed to be like a bigger reveal, but everyone, at least super fans of the series, know that she is the Scarlet Witch, but Disney and Marvel were never able actually to use the words Scarlet Witch to describe Wanda, because that name was actually owned by Fox. So now that Disney owns Fox, they are able to use that name. So I think that was supposed to be like a big reveal, especially because Jimmy Woo made the joke, or Hayward and Jimmy made the joke about, oh, she doesn't have like a funny name, and Jimmy's like, nah, like she doesn't got a funny name. So I think it was supposed to be like that big reveal, but like it wasn't as impactful to like me, because I'm like, yeah, like we know that. And again, we get another post-credit scene. This time we're flashing to Hayward, who we haven't seen this episode. We also haven't seen Monica, Darcy, or Jimmy Woo this episode. Like I said, it was mostly just focusing on Wanda's past traumas, which makes sense with all the different commercials we also saw, like the Stark toaster and the Hydra like bath scrub. So it makes sense of everything that we saw leading up to this point. So we're with Hayward, and they're just talking, discussion. They're like, yeah, we're gonna send it in. And he's also very happy because he's like, okay, now we no longer need Wanda. We actually have something of her magic that is exactly what we need. And we see that it is the drone that they sent into 80s Wanda, or 80s Westview, to try to shoot her down. But then she came out of the hex and like returned it, but it was still covered in her magic. So they're using that magic from the drone to create a new Vision, who is the character White Vision. And that's where the episode ends. I'm super excited to see what the heck is going on. I was kind of confused at first, like when she created New Vision, because I'm like, there's no way that she's just going to be able to like create new life or anything. But I think it really is a combination of that grief and chaos magic that kind of overpowered her instead of her consciously making that decision for herself. I'm super excited to see how this is going to end. I cannot wait. It's going to be so much fun. And then we have a week break, and then we're getting right into Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which I am also super excited for. So it's just going to be so much fun. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I'd love to hear all of your theories that you have. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, keep on gabbing.